Limitless.io.
What's up, tube viewers? My name is Pax, and I'm back to react. So if you're seeing my face, you're in the right place. Today, we got some extraordinary news. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, in a move to be more transparent, has declassified government documents from the Pentagon pertaining to UFOs and alien technology that is not from human beings, not from Earth, not capable of being manufactured by mankind. So, this is extraordinary news. Today, the first documents have been revealed, and it's breaking news. So, we're going to go over and tap in with CBS Morning News because they had the coverage. And we're going to tap in with them because they got some really remarkable people that are extraordinarily smart. And we're going to see what they have to say about these documents that have been declassified today by the Pentagon in an effort by the current president, Donald Trump, to remain transparent to the American people. So let's get over here and see what they got to say. And of course, I'm going to leave my colorful commentary along the way.
Department of Defense has released hundreds of never-before-seen files on UFOs. This is part of President Trump's effort to increase transparency on government knowledge of possible extraterrestrial activity.
Right.
Here are some of the new pictures on the Department of Defense's website. It includes one image from the Apollo 17 mission to the moon. Can't quite make this out.
I have no idea what I'm
It's
looking at.
basically, apparently it appears to show lights above the lunar surface. So for more on this, we called in an expert, Avi Loeb. He's a Harvard astrophysicist who leads the Galileo project, which focuses on this kind of unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP. Professor, thank you so much for joining us. You've been going through these files. What stood out to you?
This dude is extremely smart. They said he's a professor from Harvard and some kind of major stuff. So he's brilliant. This dude is a genius.
Thanks for having me. Well, the Apollo images are indeed quite interesting. There is another release from Apollo 12 of some lights above the horizon. One thing to keep in mind is that there is no atmosphere to the moon, so any object will go straight and impact the surface without burning up in the atmosphere, as often we see in meteors on Earth. And so that means that you can generate light as a result of these impacts. And that's the one thing I would like to clarify, whether these lights could be the result of impacts by rocks on the surface of the moon, which happen all the time. The Artemis 2 astronauts noticed of other 6 or 8 flashes of light associated with that when they passed near the moon. So that's one interesting set of data, but there are also a lot of documents which are quite intriguing. For example, there is a document from December 19th, 1947 to the Chief of Staff of the United States Air Force in Washington. And the first point that is made in that letter is that there are reports on flying saucers, flying discs. And these are serious people, exchanging secret memos among themselves. And the fact that serious people, we know that also more recently from pilots that are reporting unusual things they see.
This is from documents from the 40s, I think he said. So as far back as the 40s, these people, members of the military, high-ranking officials, very important people who are very credible, are making documents that are classified until now about seeing UAPs or unidentified phenomenon.
That deserves attention. We need to figure out what instruments recorded and try to understand whether these are natural phenomena, whether these are adversarial nations, or perhaps some very advanced technologies that we are not aware of, that are not human-made. Irrespective of whether the last interpretation is the correct one or not, we need to figure these things out. And any person should be filled with curiosity when seeing all these files. There will be more released every week or so. We heard that there will be weekly installments. So this is really the very first installment. And
well, that's good, because we appreciate these installments coming out, because the people want to know. We want to know from you guys, the powers that be, the smart people, what's going on. What is the stuff that we are seeing ourselves at different times throughout the world? And what is it that you guys are seeing? What's being recorded? What's going on? We want to know. So we appreciate you guys being transparent and releasing these documents.
My guess is that the more interesting documents, information, videos will be released in future weeks, because they take more time for the declassification process to allow us to see them. And in particular, there are 46 videos that were requested by Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna that hopefully will come out in the next batch of releases.
So you could see on those documents, I don't know if you guys, I didn't want to interrupt them, but there's stamps on those documents that say 1947. So in 1947, this phenomenon was being reported. He mentioned adversarial countries, meaning adversaries to the United States. Could this possibly be technology that they have developed, which would essentially put them decades beyond what America is capable of, which would be catastrophic to our country if that were the case?
So some logical explanations there, rocks as opposed to perhaps extraterrestrial activity, Professor. But in your
That's my guy,
in your vast knowledge and expertise, you don't believe that we're the only carbon-based life forms in the entire universe, do you?
If this is your first time to the channel, please take this time to subscribe, leave a comment, hit that like button for me. I know you guys hear that, but it really does help, because what it does is it keeps me, this channel, in the algorithm. And the algorithm is a fancy word. It's a word that somebody like this guy probably came up with, and it lets YouTube know that you identify with this content, that you like it, you want to see more of it, and it also sends it out to other people that are like-minded that will enjoy this content as well. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do that. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. I appreciate y'all. Share it with someone else, and we're going to get right back to it.
Not at all. I don't even think that we are at the top of the food chain.
Oh, wow.
The Milky Way Galaxy is full of 100 billion stars like the sun, and about 10% of them have a planet roughly the size of the Earth at roughly the same separation. So it would be arrogant of us to assume that we are unique and special, and most of the stars formed billions of years before the sun. So
real quick, what do you guys think? Are we alone? Are we alone in the universe? You heard what he just said. Billions and billions of stars the size of the sun. And it would be arrogant of us as human beings to believe that we are even at the top of the food chain, which he suggests that we are not. What do you guys think, man? Please let me know in the comment section. Are we alone? Are we the only carbon-based life form in the galaxy, in the universe, that in creation? Or is there something else out there? Let me know in the comments, man. Y'all let me know. This is interesting shit.
There was plenty of time for even a spacecraft like Voyager that was sent out of the solar system 50 years ago. Even for that, to cross the entire Milky Way Galaxy, it takes about 1 billion years. There was plenty of time for other civilizations that predated us to reach to our backyard. So I think it should be treated as an experimental, observational task for us to figure out if we are being visited. And if we are visited, of course, that would inspire us to visit the backyard of the senders of these probes.
Oh,
True.
Professor, I have so many questions.
I
One
know.
is, does
My
this
brain's
scare you?
exploding.
Because this scares me, right? Like, if we have been visited, I find that all scary. Maybe
Why?
I've seen too many movies.
No, because the professor is. I
they
think,
never come in peace. Maybe initially, but
No, but
Hollywood.
the idea, Professor, that so you made an interesting point, right? Which is that the universe is much older than this planet, and
Right.
that we're talking about systems that are light years away from us. If a system, if aliens have the ability to travel at the speed by which they could arrive here on planet Earth, which there's nothing that we know of that fast, and by that very nature, perhaps they would have gotten rid of all the things that plague us: war and division and strife. That's my sort of
Disease.
Right.
like idealistic.
Famine.
So the way to think of this is like a blind date of interstellar proportions. And when you go on a blind date, you never know if the dating partner will be friendly or a serial killer, right? And so, my approach is I'm sufficiently frustrated with the daily news, reading the news every day here on Earth, that I'm willing to experience whatever we find, because my hope is that it will bring us to a better place.
That's an interesting perspective. He's basically, in a nutshell, the way I perceived what he said, he could have said something different, was that things are so bad, we're so bad to each other, that, he'd be willing to go through whatever it takes to figure out the answers to some of these questions. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we really aren't very nice to each other.
We would not be as arrogant as we are. We would not be, engaged in conflicts all the time here on Earth, because there would be something else out there that we should think about. So all in all, I think it would bring us, it will be a good transformation for humanity. And that's why I think we should search for anything. The other thing to keep in mind is, even if we don't, we are not willing to believe that, the question of whether we have a neighbor or not does not depend on what we think.
True.
Either we have a neighbor that is visiting us or not. And so
That's a
our
fact.
duty, at least my duty as a scientist, is to look at the evidence and figure out what it means. And I'm here to help government in this process as more data is being released.
Well, we appreciate you, Doctor, because we know you are on the task, and we know you are the man for the job, because you are brilliant. I mean, I can only imagine the amount of hours in the chunk of your life that you have dedicated to finding other life forms out there. So we appreciate that. It's an interesting topic. What do you guys think? Are we alone out here? If they're coming to visit us, do they come in peace? What's their ultimate objective? If they are coming, how are they getting here? Are they able to time travel? This is some interesting stuff. So, I just want you guys to tap in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think, man. My name is Pax. We just here to keep track of these facts. Until next time, man, y'all go out and do something positive, man. Make these aliens proud of coming to visit us, man. Let's do something different for a change, man. Be inspired or be an inspiration, man. I'm out of here.